as I was saying, we lie to gain social acceptance. This is one of the hierarchy of needs requirement as far as Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs is concerned. This is a sense of belonging. Sense of belonging is whereby you want to feel that people around you care about you. Whether when you are in happiness, you'd like to rejoice with them. When you are sad, you need a shoulder to lean on. If you have a problem, you'd like people who are close to you, who you would share with. And as a result of sharing a problem, you feel that that problem is half solved, and they also help you to handle that problem. Now, this social acceptance is especially prevalent in young children. As a result of peer influence, they look for that acceptance by their cohorts. If, for example, you are of a bad behavior and you want to join a certain peer group, you have to modify your behavior in order to be acceptable by that group. So when you are accepted in that group, there are rules and regulations within that group which you must conform with. And as a result, even if you had contrary behavior, you are forced to change your behavior in order to be acceptable. Not because you are doing it because you like it, but because you want to be a member of that cohort and you want to be accepted. So you end up doing as they demand in order for you to be accepted. So if, for example, it is a subculture whereby they come up with their own rules and regulations contrary to the main culture, then you are forced to change your behavior to conform with the rules and regulations of that subculture for you to be accepted. Then there is also the element of preservation of self-image. Sometimes you are forced to lie to preserve your self-image. Self-image particularly goes with people who are of high status, people whose perception in the society they are regarded with high esteem. Like now, he might be a senior civil servant, a politician, a person in a position of leadership from within a certain society. So he would like to sustain that status quo of how the society within which he comes from regards him. Like now, let's say he's a politician, there are certain expectations the society have for that politician. If anything happens which would bring down that status or lead to questionable behavior of that person, and yet the society has a certain perception towards that person is ready to do anything to sustain and to maintain the perception that people have towards him or her. For example, let's say it is a daughter of a pastor in a given society. The society believes the pastor is a moral identity in that society. So the society expects that his children will also follow suit. They are children who are of high morals, whom other children of other people would like to envy and copy. So if a daughter of a pastor, for one reason or the other, becomes expectant, that one to the society is lack of morals, or children having loose morals as far as the society is concerned. So this pastor is ready to do anything to cover up for the daughter in order to preserve the self-image. They may preach in churches or in other holy places that abortion is illegal. But for that particular case, because of the regard the society have towards him, he can go a long way, either banishing the daughter or even procuring an abortion secretary in order to preserve that self-image. So when you are given a certain status within the society, there is that high expectation to do the much you can in order to sustain and to maintain the same, so that the society continues seeing you the way they always expect you to be. You may find there are people who suffer from domestic violence within their homes, but because of the status they are given by the society, they will continue suffering within that relationship and outwardly to portray an ideal family, of which deep inside they are suffering. So when they talk to people, they lie that all is well in my family, we have no problem, of which deep inside this person is suffering. Then there are other reasons why people lie. There are people who have antisocial personality disorders. Now, these kind of antisocial personality disorders are those kind of people who have no shame. They are those people who can lie and lie and lie. We call them pathological liars. That everything they say, out of it the largest percentage is a lie. And they feel by lying their self-esteem goes up. These people who have antisocial personality disorder, they always want to do the opposite of what the society expects. In fact, they have no regard to the society, and they don't care what the society says about them, so long as they fulfill their needs. So these are people who have mental disorders, and lying to them is just like telling the truth for a normal person. So there are those people who are compelled to lie, that until they lie, there is that urge to lie, such that if they do not lie, they feel something is seriously wrong with them. And on the same, by lying, they don't feel guilty, because that is what their opposite self-esteem tells them. Lie, lie. And when you lie, you feel your self-esteem goes up. Of course, this comprises a small majority in a population, but there are those kind of people. My dear citizens, I'm sorry to say that our politicians share part of this element of antisocial personality disorder. Not all of them, but majority. I can tell you for free, there is no politician who always tells the truth. In fact, most of what they say are lies. And we, the electorates, these are the lies we want to hear. Because to us, lying is just telling us what we would like to hear. We are given promises. We'll build the castles in the air when we take over the leadership of this country, of this county, of this constituency, and we believe them. And they do not regret for having told us the truth, for having told us the lies when they are soliciting for votes. But once they get what they are after, even if you go back to them and tell them, you remember you promised us this? Tell you, okay, you know that was a campaigning strategy. Otherwise, now when it comes to the real truth, some of the things I promised you, I may not be able to accomplish. I had to use all means to make you believe in me, because I didn't needed your vote. So these are tactics politicians use, and we get into that aura of euphoria whereby we don't have time to reason, to understand whether what these people have been telling us is really workable. Then the other one is protect someone else. Protect someone else. So sometimes this one can happen in criminal or civil proceedings. Like now, parents can protect their children even when they have done wrong. A parent can be called to school and told about his or her child who happens to be a bully in school, or is involved in drugs, or is doing some other criminal offenses within the presence of the school. The first thing the parent will do is to deny, to refuse to accept that his or her child can be involved in that juvenile activities, those juvenile offenses. So they are doing this to protect their children, because they know when their children are regarded as indisciplined, then this reflects on their children. That when you see a child behaving this way, chances are these children are not disciplined very well by their parents, and maybe their parents are just as indisciplined as their children, because of course the children imitate what the parents do. So sometimes you find you lie in order to protect someone else without digging deeper to extract the truth, whether the accusations are true or false. And you, by doing so, the parents create enmity or conflict with the school administration, because they feel mtoto wake anaonewa. I know my child better. I know my child cannot do this. So I don't understand why the school administration is mistreating my child like this. In fact, I'm going to remove that child from that school and take him or her to another school, forgetting that even if you take that child to any other school, so long as that element of indiscipline is there and you, the parent, supports the same indiscipline, it doesn't matter how many schools you take that child, he or she will still display the same behavior. Then the other one is impressing people and boost one's reputation. That one we have considered it when we were talking of campaigning and the politicians. Then the other one is to mitigate or evade conflict. This is when one is put in a position of administration or a position of responsibility, and you end up siding with one of the opposing forces. Like now, a chief or a DO or any other administrative officer who is given a responsibility of mitigating in conflicts. It is the will of the two conflicting forces to have a mediator who is non-partisan. But when this mediator supports one side silently or overtly, then the other party may feel that justice is not being done. And with all this, there are chances that the justice will not be done and the problem will not be solved. So of course, we have so many of these kind of people who, when given a position, they end up misusing it for their own selfish gain. And lastly, as far as this issue is concerned, is instant gratification. instant gratification is more or less related to the mitigating aspect. Instant gratification is where you benefit from a conflict, or you do something with the aim of you being the beneficiary. So like now we have been going through this pandemic of COVID-19, there are situations where you have to take quick decisions in order to prevent the spread of such epidemic. So you release funds to try to mitigate the problem, and instead of putting the funds to the right use, you end up being the beneficiary. So you say, this is an opportunity which I have been waiting for. I wish COVID would last longer so that I continue benefiting. To the people, you are showing them that you are doing something, but when people look at it on the ground, there is nothing substantial that you are doing. So you are lying to the people, but pretending to be helping them. So the psychology of lying is deeper than just what we have discussed. We need to understand more why people lie and what benefits do they derive as a result of lying.